So the big question on everyone's mind is, should I buy Wild Hearts? And if you're like me and looked at Steam first and saw overwhelmingly negative, you might regret your pre-order, or like me, having bought it before looking at the reviews. So if you're smarter than me and are looking at reviews first, congratulations, you might save yourself $70. Now obviously this review is going to be longer, but if you want to skip to the long and short of it, I don't think Wild Hearts is worth $70. I don't even think it's worth $50. Maybe if it was on sale with like all the future DLCs and patches and all that for $20 to $30, I would be content with it, but $70, there's just no way. Wild Hearts is a Monster Hunter clone, so if you don't know anything about Wild Hearts, that's what it is. If you don't know what Monster Hunter is, you're seeing it right now. You hunt giant monsters, you chop their tails off, you destroy them to gather their parts so you can build better weapons out of their parts, to hunt bigger monsters so you can get their parts to make better weapons to hunt bigger monsters. It's a really satisfying gameplay loop, and it's been around for a while, and for good reason. Now they obviously set out to not be a clone by adding new mechanics into the game, but at its heart, it's a clone, and I don't think they do anything well enough to set itself apart from the game. And here's the biggest complaint you see right here, the camera. The camera in this game, I dare say, is worse than playing an N64 game. Like, I would rather play Mario 64 with its terrible camera than this. This camera is abysmally bad. And I would say out of the 5 times I've already died to monsters, I would say at least 3 of them have been because I've gotten hit and shoved into a corner where I can't see what's going on because of the bad camera, and then I get hit again and KO'd before I can do anything. And that's just flat out unacceptable. If I got hit and then got hit again because I wasn't dodging or I didn't know what I was doing, that's, how the gameplay works. But to die because the camera was so bad I couldn't see what I was doing is just flat out horrible. And to add insult to injury, when you die, at least early in the game, there's only one spawn point, so you end up spending like 5 minutes running back to where you were. Now, usually getting sent back to base when you die is a good thing. It gives you a chance to reevaluate your gear, change your weapon or change your armor, maybe grab some items, eat some different food. It gives you a chance to re-prep and say, okay, here's what I did wrong and here's how I'm going to master it. But when you die because the camera is bad, there's nothing for you to do at base. There's no thought of what could I do better, what could I change. It's literally the camera being awful, so it feels really bad. On screen here, you're going to see the next thing. So this is the building mechanic. So the big mechanic is you build blocks and you can knock things over so that they can't hit you with their special moves, which is unique. It's different than what Monster Hunter does, but I have to ask, who cares? Like, now just instead of dodging moves, I occasionally have to press some buttons to create things to block it. Like, it doesn't add anything interesting to the gameplay. And because they intend you to use this mechanic, monsters will spam those moves a whole lot to ensure that you get to use them. Which, again, I understand it's a unique ability, so you want to use it, but it just feels too gamey. And I know that's silly because we're talking about a game, but it feels like a game mechanic. It breaks your illusion. It doesn't feel like you're the hunter using these abilities. It doesn't feel like you're using the hunter's skills to master. It feels like you're playing a video game and using a video game to cheat. Other main complaints, the tutorial is a little bit too long. You have to hunt like 3 different monsters, and that's pretty normal. But they don't give you any of the things that Monster Hunter does. Like, Monster Hunter gives you access to all the weapons pretty much right away. And if you want to sit in town and master the weapons or learn them, you can do that. Wild Hearts gives you 1 weapon, and you have to craft all the other ones, and as far as I can tell, half the weapons are locked. I can't even craft them at this point, which is a huge bummer. A huge part of these games is finding the weapon that you feel like at home with and playing with it. Now, I know a lot of people just saw me die and they're going to say, oh, well, this review's invalid, so get good, you just suck at these games. I have thousands of hours in Monster Hunter World. I mastered every single weapon, hunted with every single weapon, so it's not a get good. The game just has a clunkiness, not just the camera, but like you move around so fast, but the monsters' telegraphed moves, they have like this weird stutter. It's so hard to explain. Like, the monster will rear up on its hind legs, like it's gonna say, oh, I'm gonna get you, and then it'll pause. They're like, okay, I'm really gonna get you, and then it'll wait and say, okay, here I come. It doesn't feel fluid. It doesn't feel like a monster would. And I understand that like the telegraphing attacks is so that you can dodge and so you can get good, but the way that they like wait before actually using the move to give players a chance. Again, it feels very mechanic, very game mechanic, and doesn't feel fluid. So dodging is really hard for me because coming from Monster Hunter World where the telegraphs are there, but they're very swift. You have to know what you're looking for and dodge ahead of time. It's hard to get used to the idea of, okay, they're telling me to dodge, now wait, now sit here, okay, now dodge. Like, it's very hard for me to get used to that. Weapon tier lists are already out, and they basically say there's one clear best weapon, which is the hammer or the maul, and every other weapon is meh to okay. Which I get balance patches will come, but having one clear winner is very bad for a game like this, and especially there's not a whole lot of weapons. Again, you only have like 5 weapons at the start. You can cut monster tails and antlers and break body parts, allegedly. In the 3-4 hunts I've done, I've never been able to do it. I don't know if it's because it's just harder to do in Monster Hunter, but again, it doesn't feel natural. In Monster Hunter, you're breaking things and it feels right. You've been attacking the tail and it knocks off. In this, it doesn't feel intuitive at all. So is there anything this game does well? I know I've been harping on it, but there are a few things that are worth praising it for. The monsters destroy the environment super well. And so you'll see them rampaging through trees, and you'll see giant trees falling all over the place. I don't know if they actually hurt you if you get hit, but like instinctively, I want to dodge the falling trees because falling trees will hurt, right? When the monsters hit you with some of their really cool special attacks, it looks spectacular. Like, their whole thing is they change their biome to match them, so when they're summoning vines or other things, it does look very good. And I'm gonna put this under a category of good, even though I don't necessarily think it's good. I think it's good for some people. There does not appear to be a sharpness meter. I know a lot of people in Monster Hunter really hate that multiple times during the fight you have to stop and sharpen your weapon, and it feels tedious, and like, well, why is your super well-crafted weapon becoming blunt after 3 attacks? And while I disagree with that, I also, hated Breath of the Wild because of the durability meter and weapons breaking every 5 seconds, so I understand that it's not for everyone, so not having that present definitely is a big pro for some people. And I think that's everything nice that I can say about this game, so let's go back to the negatives and things that I continue to dislike about it. The story is just flat out awful with poor voice acting. Like, Monster Hunter doesn't have the greatest story in the world either, but this game doesn't need a good story, right? The story should be, you're a monster hunter, there's monsters, go hunt the monsters, right? It should be like Doom. There doesn't need to be this grand overarching story, and they're trying to put that in here. So, like, you start with just a whole bunch of dialogue, and it makes no sense. They ask questions like, oh, traveler, where do you hail from? Like, I don't know anything about the world. How would I know where I hail from? And when you select an answer, you get special dialogue, but what does that do? What does that change? I don't know enough about the world to answer any of these questions. And then they ask you, well, why are you hunting monsters? Like, I don't know what my motivation is. I'm a monster hunter. I was born into it. Like, why do I need a motivation? I ended up selecting one that's like, oh, I seek to answer that question myself through the hunt. Like, it's very 6th grade edgelord. Within 30 minutes in the game, I've pretty much already given up on the story. Like, I have no interest in what these people have to say or why they're saying it or what they're doing. I just want to hunt the monsters. I don't care, and they don't give me a reason to care. The sound effects are nothing to write home about. I usually harp on video game music. It's very generic, it's very forgettable. I couldn't tell you a single song or what anything sounds like because it's just not present. It's not there. I know it's unfair to compare it to like Stardew Valley, but like every one of Stardew Valley's songs is so good, so original, and so striking that I listen to it on my own. This I wouldn't go out of my way to seek the soundtrack for. And the tutorial doesn't even do a good job of being a tutorial. Like, you can see those glowing spot on those monsters. I assume that's some sort of weak point or something? I don't know. It never explains it to you. When you use a couple of the other mechanics in the game, it tells you how to build them, but not how to use them. I literally had to Google, how do I use this zip line, because it didn't tell me what to do. What's the point of a tutorial if it doesn't even tell you how to basically play the game? Like, it's absolutely mind-numbingly painful. So in conclusion, don't waste your money. If you can rent the game for free, rent it. If you can wait a year for all the DLC and all the monsters and all the bug fixes and all that, and for it to be, you know, 20 bucks, it might be worth playing then. But for now, for $70, I definitely feel insulted to have paid $70 for this. And I wanted to love this game. I've been following it for like 6 to 8 months, which I know some people probably followed it for years and years since the initial launch, but I love Square Enix. I love Final Fantasy. I love what Square Enix puts out, so I wanted to love this game and give it a fair chance. But when I start playing it, I have to ask the question, why would I play this instead of playing Monster Hunter World? And I can't think of a single good reason that I would play this instead of Monster Hunter World, except I'll give one maybe, which is if you've played Monster Hunter World for 10,000 hours and are so sick of all the monsters and you just want to hunt something new and you don't care about anything else, maybe this would be worth it just for a new hunt. But again, not worth $70. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video and supporting my channel. If you can like and subscribe, that always helps the channel as well. Let me know in the comments if you bought this game or had the misfortune of pre-ordering it and what you think of it.